for the expert view of the creation of parallel UCRs. One thing we want to stress to everybody on the call is that the process is pretty much the same as it is today. So hopefully, when Charles walks us through the different steps to create a transaction, you should hopefully be quite familiar to the way a transaction is created in today's processing, minus the different change in the system in the tools.
Okay. Thank you, Massimo. Hi, everyone. As Massimo mentioned, this is to walk us through the portal, the ICOS portal, and this is going to be the expert view for this portal.
Yeah. At what point was it decided that parallel UCRs were going to remain?
That's a good question, Kim. It was decided a while ago, mostly around constraints around write-back, and what we can do from an ICOS perspective to send messages for agreement. So
okay,
when the
and how have you communicated this to the market? Because right now is the first time that I've ever heard it.
I think it was decided a while ago, and it was communicated. I don't know if it's going as part of the MAG.
Well, that's tomorrow.
Yeah,
it's on the agenda for tomorrow's MAG meeting. Kim.
If I can jump in, we decided that we would talk to this group first, Kim, because we'd previously communicated with this group about it. It's also on the MAG for tomorrow. There is a communication that is planned, so all sequenced in this way. I know that at the event, Sean has been talking about it and talking about how they're trying to keep it to avoid changes based on information. But this is the first of the formal communications about it. So I'm glad it's the first time that you've heard about it in that respect.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So what we're going to go through today, our agenda is pretty straightforward. It's a quick overview of ICOS. We're going to talk through the fee claim creation from the expert point of view, and we'll then take some questions along the way. ICOS is the International Claims Orchestration Service. It's where we're going to hold claims related data. We'll be providing a portal where new claims data and editing of the claims can happen. We can create new transactions. We'd also be using this to link up with our current digital system, which is LimClaim and WriteBack, to help brokers. So we're going to offer a bit more flexibility. So we'll offer the brokers and carriers, depending on their digital maturity, the ability to interact on this platform. Portal expert, is going to be the main interface for the expert to input their fee transactions and also manage those particular transactions going forward. So if they can capture their fee reserves against claims that are in the system. Yes, Tom, do you have a question?
Yeah, sorry, just on this slide on the wording about the screens might differ. Understand that kind of these are the early stages. When do you think you're going to get your final build done? And the only reason we ask is from the Gemini side is we look to try and ease the process as much as possible. So we try and replicate screens if needed from what was in ECF and now what will be in ICOS. So just wondering on when you reckon the screens would be finalised for the project.
I can answer that one, Charles. So we're going through some replanning phases at the moment, and the expert is slotted a bit later on, but still on time for go live. We can share the screens from a broker perspective, which essentially would be the same as the expert, with the only addition is an additional field for the indemnity UCR. So if you want to see how the screen looks like, we can share that early on for the broker one.
So just to confirm, if we were to see the broker one, they would be the screens that we're anticipated to be.
Absolutely. Yeah, the only difference would be one or two fields. But otherwise, from a look and feel and a process perspective, would be exactly the same.
Okay, thank you. And should I just get in contact with you, Massimo, just to look at those?
Yeah, you can.
Thank you. So what's the business process? So effectively, we're looking at the broker on the left side here and the expert activities here on the right side. The broker will have the capability of will create the indemnity claim over there, and they would have a number of transactions related to that particular claim. Now, this claim will be seen by the broker. These transactions will be viewed by the broker as well as by the carrier. In parallel, if there are any fees pertaining to that particular claim, which someone like Gemini or a third party will be able to enter into the system, these will be done in parallel, and there will be a link between the indemnity claim and all related associated fee claims that are going to be on the right. So the expert claims will not be seen by the broker, but the carrier will be able to view those particular claims. Yeah. This will be a typical dashboard. Sorry, I've got some feedback there. This will be a typical dashboard, which the expert will see when you log onto ICOS. This page will enable the expert to search for their own UCRs in here, as well as search for policies which they wish to attach that particular UCR to. And also they would have the ability to create a new fee UCR from this page, as you can see in the button on the top left here. One of the key things here is the fee UCR will need to be linked to an associated indemnity UCR. So we cannot just come in there and create a new claim without having an indemnity to attach it to. Yes,
Charles. Yeah, sorry.
I've got a question from Rich Woodhams. Sorry.
Yeah, hi. Did someone else have a question first?
No, Richard, I was just going to say that you had your hands up just in case Charles couldn't see the teams.
Yeah, okay, thanks. So going back the prior screen, the notion that the broker can't see the parallel UCR and vice versa, that's kind of as it is today, and that's there for, I guess, legacy reasons. But in the fee context, it would be quite useful if the broker could see what's happening on the fee side and people processing the fees could see what's on the indemnity side. Is there logic as to why in this parallel UCR for fees type scenario that there is that bright line between the two?
Yeah, I can answer that one, Charles. Yep. At the moment, we build like for like to what it is in today's sort of viewing between the two different actors in the process. If there are views that the broker should also be able to see a fee UCR that has been created by the expert, we can certainly enable that, so we can put that in the backlog in the design office. However, I think we might need to channel it through, I guess, the association to see whether or not there is, the broker and the carriers community and the experts, there is consensus in opening this view to all the participants in that.
Yeah, okay, understood. So just to complete the picture, the parallel UCR is being used now for huge volumes of fees. The functionality is if it was a mid-term broker change. So one broker had lost the business to a different broker, and in that instance, it'd be a right for the carrier to say, no, you can't see the new claim going forward. But in a fee scenario, it'd be quite easy for the lead to say, yeah, they can see both sides. Just wondering how difficult that would be to put in from the get-go, because that would add benefit.
It will not be included as part of phase one, because at the moment we're doing build with the current requirement, but we can put it definitely in the backlog. So it's something we can raise with the claim community to see what is the desire to have in ICOS, and if there's a requirement for that, it can certainly be included. It's not a problem at all.
Thank you.
Good. So one of the first key things that would happen when we're creating a claim will be the need to attach that claim to a policy and a related UCR as well. So the policy search would want one of the first landing points for the claim. Now, one of the rules we have within ICOS is that you cannot create a claim without a policy. That's where we are. Okay. Yes, Tom, you have a question?
Yeah, so just on that is, would we be able to see policy level information if we do not create a parallel UCR? So are we able just to have free reign in this instance? Are we able to go in, view and search for a UMR and then view the policy details, or do we have to have a claim created to do that?
You would need a claim to be created to do that. This few policy details, we should have blocked it out, but you would be able to create a claim. This is the minimal information you see on the policy at that point in order to create the claim. Ideally, you should have the UMR and the UCR at hand before creating this from an expert point of view. That's my understanding. Yeah.
Sure. And then when we actually create the claim, what level of policy details would we see? Because we validate to ensure that the payment request that's come through is being paid against the correct market participation. So we sent through a request to Sean to make sure that the participation was included within what we can see, because that is details that we can see today. So is that going to be a requirement?
Yeah. So let me go through the steps, and then you will see where you do the validations and the checks. Yeah.
Sorry, yeah. So I went through the slides yesterday, and I couldn't. I'll let you go through it. But I couldn't see anywhere where we could view the market participation on a parallel UCR created. But I'll re-raise at the end if it hasn't answered my question.
No worries. Okay. So this is the beginning of capturing the claim details. Once we've selected a policy, we've decided to create a claim against that policy. We will then go into this journey here. Over here is where we capture the reference details. So you have your UCR references. You will put in your transaction reference. And over here, we have the original unique claim reference. This will be the associated indemnity claim. There, as you can see, this is a mandatory field to be entered. So this will create the link between the fee and the indemnity transaction. So you'll be able to select other things like the bureau lead and syndicate lead as the broker will do today. So these are similar screens to what the broker is using. The only difference is that you have to have an associated UCR, indemnity UCR assigned. Okay. And then these are the key fields that have been entered. Some of them will be defaulted in there, but these are the key fields that will be entered. Yes, Tom.
Yeah, sorry, I will ask a few questions throughout, so apologies to everyone. One of the things I noticed on this page, and I did ask Ali for the full list of fields that will be required with an optional and mandatory status, and he said he's going to work on that with his product team, which would be great. But you've got the product claim reference. Currently on the parallel UCR, broker claim reference, sorry, we've got broker claim ref 1 and broker claim ref 2 on the parallel UCR, and when we receive the BSM, we receive those broker claim 1 and 2, and then we use those to match. So is that included? Have I missed that in the slide deck?
Yeah, so it's been covered by this other field here. So you got first reference and second reference.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
In the background, we store it under as one. We concatenate it and then store it as one, but it defaults into first reference and second reference in there. We just didn't put it out, split it out over here. Okay.
Got you. And then when we receive the BSM, we'll be receiving it not as the broker claim reference. We'll be seeing it as broker claim ref 1 and broker claim ref 2.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Stuart.
Yeah, I can't see anything for partial market because we do some of our collections just for one of the, especially with Lerma markets. We just collect one of the carriers. We don't collect them all. So I don't know if
so we do have partial markets in the screens. Maybe a bit later on.
Okay.
Should be in here. I don't know why it's not in here, but I thought it was in this screen. But I'll get back to you on that, Stuart.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Because I'm actually working on partial markets right now, so it is going to be there.
Okay.
So the next stage after capturing the claim
Sorry,
details.
sorry, you got
Yes.
a few more hands up, so you
Oh,
might as
sorry.
well cover them
Sorry,
all.
it was just Massimo. We spoke about the lawyer reference as well as one of the fields on the right back deep dive.
Yeah, we haven't got to those screens yet because we keep, unfortunately, not going through the presentation. They're in a different sequence, and Charles will cover them all. The lawyer will be, I think, still on the document. We need to get to the policy screen, which is in two slides.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. So after we capture the claim details, we would have a mandatory capture of a document of some sort related to the fee. So this is what the document screen looks like, and to be enable us to upload the document. And here's where we will capture these policy details will be defaulted in from our from IROS or IPOS. So IROS will be our risk system, and IPOS will be our premium system. Initially, when we go live, we will be relying on IPOS to supply us that information, and then later on we will get IROS data, and we also have the lawyer and adjuster fields available further down in this screen. So you see the next screen will have that as you just requested there, Anthony. And in this field here, we capture the loss details. So this is just one long screen, and here we capture the loss details. So it's very important that we capture all the loss, as much of the loss details as possible, and where applicable, we should be capturing a lawyer or adjuster related to that particular loss. So you have the loss dates there, loss qualifiers, and a bit more information captured on this particular page here. Yes, Tom.
Sorry, on the last field, just to get clarity on the screen. So the screenshot appears to be a free text field, but then on the text you said where applicable, a expert or lawyer can be selected. So just want to confirm, because with the point Anthony's raising, we enter a specific code in there to allow for automation to happen on the right back side. Is that still going to be free text?
Let me get back to you. It's free text.
It is free text, yeah. So they'll already be all free text because we understand that there are some background processes on the right back side.
Yeah. Okay. And this is just a list of the fields that would appear on the policy details and on the loss details, so you can look through these fields. I don't have any. Yes, Stuart.
Go back a screen. It said on there, we looked at it, said lawyers and adjusters won't have access. Lawyers and adjusters will not have direct access to ICOS portal.
Yep. So that is probably mistyping. This was
yeah. I hope
so. I will get back to you on that one. I think that's a misentry there. I don't know how I missed that. Anyway, that's my fault. Yep. Okay. After we've entered all the loss details and
sorry, Charles. It's me interrupting you. I need to understand a bit better that one on the lawyer and the adjuster. Sorry, not having access to the portal. Are we saying that a lawyer? Sorry, no. That an expert is a different profile, but are we saying that a lawyer or an adjuster on a claim should be accessing the portal to see the claim? Because the answer, we don't have a profile for that. If you're an expert in a different profile, that's fine, not a problem. But if you're a lawyer appointed on a claim, you will not normally have access to the portal.
Yeah, I think it's probably just a miscommunication in terms of terminology between expert versus lawyer and adjuster, right? So an expert is someone who's got a central settlement number and has access to this profile to be able to set up their own transactions, like a McLaren's or a Sedgwick's or someone, right? So that's okay. They will have access to this, but it's other lawyers and adjusters who a fee collection agent is collecting fees on behalf of won't have access to the portal because they don't today.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. Stuart, is that right?
Yeah, I presume that's the way. It's just not very well. Great
Yeah,
word.
I understand.
What it might be misleading, and it's fine. We can clarify that. Just want to make sure that we're not giving the impression that any lawyer or any adjusters will have access to the claim in the future. They will have to be onboarded with their own profile and so on.
Okay, so you're happy with that? Okay. So the next page that you would get will be entering of the reserves, and you'll be entering the reserves into these fields over here. So over here you have the reserves outstanding being captured. You'll be able to enter up to 3 currencies, I believe, 3 currencies for the reserves, and you have your outstanding qualifiers as there. Some of these values are repeating, so this is probably an old screen. So this screen will probably not be the same as you get. When we do have a settlement, you would have the settlement fields appear after that. So you have the order of settlement in there, and you can have a separate settlement currency to the original currency in which you have entered for the fee in here. It's just similar screens to what you have today on this here. Yeah. Now this once we've captured all that information, the final step for the entry will be where you would have to enter the OSND. And Tom, this is where you have to you have to capture, you have to know what the original signing number and date is, and this will give us as the market, this will tell us what the market is about here. Yes, Samantha.
Oh yeah, well, in the ECF at the moment, actually ECF gives us a sign-in number and date. We don't have to ask the brokers for it. Are you saying that in ICOS, no, it won't provide that? We have to know it?
Yes,
Massimo.
That is that would be the correct assumption. Yeah, that today you're expected to know the OS&Ds for the transaction.
Right, so we're going to have to ask the broker for it going forward then, yeah.
Which makes sense to make the 2 visible from the get-go, because then they can see it without having to inquire for each and every fee.
Tom?
Yeah, it was just a question. So I know we've got the OSND that will be entered into here, but when in ECF today, we have the ability to look at the market that's being held against that signing date to validate that we're paying the correct participation. Is that going to be a requirement in ICOS that is there today?
That's not something we've designed ICOS to have, because the participation is already within the OSND, and we're pulling that in from IPOS. If we do have a partial market collection, we will get a display of the full market that is part of that, so they can then select the participants that are going to be collected for in a partial collection view, and that will be after the OSND has been confirmed. But we did not have an intention to show the market at this particular stage when the claim has been released.
So
however,
go on.
However, once it's been created, you will then be able to see the market in there.
Okay. So once we've created the transaction, we'll then see the market.
Yeah.
The only thing about doing that, I suppose, is that there may be, you may create a transaction and realize that the market is greater than the amount payable that you're looking to pay an expert, and then have to re-release it. But okay, that's noted.
Yeah, but you have to capture the OSND details.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, that's the only way we can know what the market is, and that's the only way we can validate the market is with the OSND. Okay. Yes, Stuart.
Does it not make sense then to keep? Is there no way we can bring through the original signing numbers and dates, because that always links to the UCR, because this could cause loads of problems, because you're trying to link UCRs, and if someone gives you the wrong signing number, it could be an absolute nightmare, because you might have a UCR and someone gives you the wrong signing number for that UCR, and you're going to put a UCR against the wrong signing number, but it could preferably have the same market. It seems that seems a real good safety check that was in previous in the LPC system that we're losing.
Yeah, so we do have a validation of the UCR. So if you enter OSND here and it doesn't match the UCR, you will be told by the system, and you will not be allowed to release that particular claim. So that's safety net is in place. So if we pull it, and we will, part of our validation, we will validate it against the indemnity to make sure that the indemnity and the fee actually both have the same UCRs related to each other.
Has anyone gone to the brokers and asked what their thoughts are, that we're going to have to be pestering them for more information now? Because their whole point is they don't want us to pester them for more information. They want us to work with as little information as possible. And this is another step that I don't think they're going to be happy about. Obviously, I know some of my carriers are not going to be happy about it, because the whole point is for them to give us as little information as possible and allow us to process these fees. And if we're now going to start getting signing numbers from them, it's going to be a nightmare. And if they've got a slip that's got 10 or 15 signing numbers on it, they've got to then go looking for it. This is a major change that I actually think the market would back us on as well, especially the brokers.
Massimo, is this something we can take away?
Yes, I'm listening to the conversations and I understand what the problem is and how we can try to mitigate. So if we can take this offline.
So the parallel can, in a fee context, the leads can tick a box that says, yes, the parallel UCR can see the indemnity UCR, and then fix the problem.
Yeah, but I think if you got the OSND number, that we still need to valid to resolve. Yeah, so if let's take it offline, so we provide. I
wouldn't mind if you are taking that offline. I wouldn't mind being contacted, because I'd like actually to see what the carriers say as well, because I don't think it's going to be the carriers, the brokers, and everything else. They want to provide us with limited information, and this is making their life more awkward. It's making our life more awkward. So I really think this is something that is really important to get right.
Yeah, I agree, Stuart.
Yeah, just to let you know, sorry, we are there's a broker meeting tomorrow called the Coal that we're going to. So we will be speaking to the brokers, and we have been speaking to the brokers about parallel UCRs. So we will be going there.
Right.
So it won't be done in isolation.
Yeah.
I got Tom with your hand raised.
Hi, it's Paul Birmingham, sat with Tom. But just related to that, and I know you're taking it away, but if the validation exists in arrears, why wouldn't you just put it up front and allow it?
Fair enough. But okay, like I said, we let's take that and we discuss the merits of that.
Yeah, but there are two topics there. One is the validation. The other one is the OSND availability. Because essentially, if I understand, at the moment, you don't have to request OSND, and something is changing. Steve, sorry, your hand is up as well.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think if the OSND in today's world gets auto-populated based on the UCR that you're associating to, it makes perfect sense to put it over and show it, like auto-populate it on this screen, right? Yeah, maybe with an override, so you can, if you need to put a different currency OSND on or something, you can. But the other thing I was going to say is this additional premium. Is that new? Is that do you have to provide that today, or is that new?
Yeah, sorry, we're going to remove that.
Okay.
Yeah, be included.
So it was requested, but it's not going to be part of the next.
Okay, cool. And yeah, because it's just a free format box by the looks of it, which would have led to all sorts of problems.
Fully understood. Yeah, we're removing that. Okay. Any other questions on this screen? No. Okay. Yes, David.
Yeah, it's just a verification on this. We need to know the OSND and asking the brokers. What about if it's a coverage matter where the brokers aren't even aware of the claim and we're collecting fees on it?
Yeah. we'll take that. Like I said, we'll take that away and we'll consider that. So coverages.
And I think the all S&D, yeah, you can leave if you, at the moment we can leave it because we need to revisit and see how we can solutionize it in a different way.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so after the
so you got another question from Kevin, sorry.
So not actually Kevin, Catherine sitting with him, but just jumping in on that coverage matter. With coverage matters, it was mentioned earlier about the brokers being able to see the parallel UCRs. That completely goes against that wouldn't work for coverage matters, because obviously coverage matters are matters where we create a parallel UCR, but the broker can't see these fees for whatever reason. So if you make it so the broker can immediately see our parallel UCR, that completely blows that out of the water. It doesn't work. So from our side as a fee collector, that wouldn't work for us.
No, we have that issue as well.
There's probably best to send it to people who are more familiar with the claim. But I'll.
Okay. Okay, I've taken that point down. So I mean, the design at the moment is to prevent the broker from seeing the parallel UCR, which is what's in place today. And I think, yeah, we'll probably keep that. But we'll also put it as part of our discussions. I'll speak to Massimo about that, and we'll then put it to the brokers as well, just to make sure.
I think it needs to go via the associations, and then if it needs to go into the design office backlog, then we can, but we need to clearly understand what's the requirement there. And
absolutely.
Yeah.
At the moment, we're hearing the feedback, and it's definitely noted. But before we make a decision, would be circulated with the association to make sure there's market agreement and the requirement has been articulated.
Yes, but if that is decided that you do want the brokers to be able to see the parallel UCRs, then there needs to be something put in place, a way that we can create a fee that they can't see, that needs to be addressed if it is decided that they can see the parallel UCRs, because we have things we need to collect that the brokers can't see.
Absolutely. At the moment, current design, broker has no access to the parallel UCR. So at the moment, on phase 1, day 1, no access. That is foreseen.
Okay. So when the claim gets released, we will then it will then go to the carrier. So this is how the carrier will be able to. So I don't intend to go through the carrier journey today, but this is how the carrier will be able to see the UCRs associated to the indemnity. So if they're viewing the indemnity UCR, they on the claims transaction overview page, they'll be able to see the parallel UCRs in a drop-down fashion over here, and vice versa. If they're looking at the parallel UCR, they'll be able to have the parallel UCR and the associated the fee UCR. They'll be able to see the associated indemnity UCR on this particular page as well. So that will be one fee would only have one associated UCR, and the associated UCR will be able to have multiple parallel fee UCRs. Yeah. Yes, Steve.
Is it going to hyperlink through like it does today, so you can jump between the two claims easily?
That's been requested, but I need to speak to the technical guys at the behind the scenes to see how easy we can do that. But we just haven't been able to discuss that with them yet. I'll feedback to the group.
Thanks.
When I get that. Okay. And that's the presentation for the expert fees. Yes, Samantha.
Are you going to show us what happens if they query or reject it, and what that's going to look like, or is that not been built yet? Or
the query reject actually, sorry, that would be the same as today. So if it's been so once the transaction has been released, essentially, it will follow the same flow as any other transaction. So if it's a write back user, it will be receiving write back and agreed or query from there.
Right. Okay. We're not. So I know this is only a brief presentation, but are you, when it is finally done and you've got the finished product, are you going to show us again? Are we going to have a complete run through and a training session on how to use these?
Of course, yeah, there will be, as I guess the build progresses, there will be training session, training material, and there will be Vanguard testing. The whole, I guess, sequence of events will happen before it's fully released.
Okay, thank you.
Stuart?
Yeah, and what's the procedure for historical data? Is it all going to be pulled through? What is going to happen? Are we just going to have to set up loads more fees, reserves, and claims, or is there some way that this is all going to be interlinked and data be pulled through? So if we've got existing fee transactions, they will be there.
Yeah, so that's part of the cutover activities that are being planned. So it's something that Charles or myself are covering, but it's been looked after the cutover team. So they will be migrating transactions and PUCRs as they are prepared before the go live dates. So the expectation will be then whatever has been created in the past will be available in ICOS, and you should be able to search for it as normal.
And are we still looking for a July go live date on this?
We certainly are.
Yeah, Scott?
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't see where the partial collections were. Which screen would that be on?
Yeah, it wasn't on that screen there, but I can assure you it's part of our build. We do have a partial collection flag built.
So how are they looking at that? Are they is it as is at the moment with the Lerma collections? We can see all of the underwriters on there, and we can make the necessary arrangements to collect the partials from them, or how's that working?
Yeah.
How will it work?
So at the moment we're designing the partial collections page itself, but the design I haven't done a mock-up yet for that. But what we do have is we already have on the main screen a flag to indicate this partial collection. But what happens at the point of release is we haven't done the mock-ups of that. That's still a work in progress, which I'm currently working on. And yes, it will be something like that. You'll be able to see all the participants associated with that particular claim, and then make a selection of which ones are part of the collection.
And how are we showing VAT? Is that on one of these screens as well?
The VAT is captured if there's a settlement amount. So there's the VAT field there. So you have the order of settlement there, and then you'll be able to capture the VAT amount related to that. It's very small. Yeah, well, you can see that order of settlement VAT. Then we've got.
Okay. Thank you.
Adrian?
Yeah, hi. Are you going to be able to do partial collections on Lloyd's, or are we still going to have to do paper files?
On Lloyd's?
Yeah.
They will remain out of scope for phase 1.
Okay, so we still do that via paper then?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Tom, do you have another question?
Yes. So just actually on this screen here, I've just got two questions. One, where it says additional notes, is that the narrative?
It's an optional field, but it's like a narrative. It's optional, which we've entered here. As we've designed this, we've noticed that some fields are not existing in write back or or in ImClaim. So if the additional notes here are not there, then we will be removing that.
So where would the narrative be then? Have you got the narrative on here? So
of the claim.
Yeah.
And do you mean broker comments? I was going to say, do you mean broker comments?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's the additional details bit here, Tom. So it'll be in there.
Perfect. Yeah. And then just if I could ask, so the order settlement and settlement amount, sometimes we actually see when uploading invoices onto ECF, the differences between them could be a penny out. So the order settlement calculation, once it's entered in, is pre-populated from the market share from the 100% amount we enter in, can sometimes be a difference to the settlement amount. And we're unable to change the order settlement, I believe. When you send through the list of fields, are you able just to put a description field against those to say this is free text, this has a calculation in, the calculation is X, just to break down each field that's required, mandatory, optional, just so we can clarify that on our end as well?
Okay. Yeah. So you want it to tell where it's calculated, free text, or
mandatory, optional. Cool. And just another, just to kind of Stuart's point, saying this is still planned for go live, etc. When's this going to be ready for testing?
Again, testing dates, we'll have to refer to the testing team. They're preparing the dates and they're communicating separately.
So I suppose on that, when's your completion date for build?
From build, we're working through the different PIs. So it's planned at the moment, I think, in the next few PIs.
Yeah, in the next few
PIs are product increments.
Okay.
So yeah, so
but no confirmed
the setting
dates,
then. So the setting of this call is about going through the requirements for the parallel UCRs. It's not about the dates for testing or the date for the build. It's making sure that the requirements of whatever we're building is fit for purpose to collect fees.
Sure. And then final question, and I'll pass it over. But so integration into ICOS, that will all be phase 2 in the digital world, won't it? Or
integrate. Sorry,
so
what was the question?
If we wanted to integrate our product with your product, we're talking phase 2. That's not a post phase 1.
It depends on the integration, because phase 2 would be looking at the code and at the moment. So it depends what integration with your product actually means.
Okay.
So what it's Paul Birmingham with Tom. So we've kind of looked at integrating with ECF and decided, because ICOS was coming, that there was no benefit to doing that. But with ICOS coming along, with it being a more modern system with data exchange possibilities already in place, and based on a comment you made earlier around it being very similar to the broker screens, whether we could piggyback on LimClim or something else that could get the data in there automatically.
It's certainly possible. However, again, that will be part of the design office for future requirements. Again, we can take that, I guess, offline as a separate conversation about integrating your product with ICOS. From a technology perspective, certainly it's possible. It should not be a constraint. Why, when that would happen, that would be depending on requirement in the design office.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you.
Just so we don't miss it, Massimo, Hillary's got a question in the chat. Her mic's not working. I don't know if you wanted to go to that one.
Sorry. So let me look at just
that's
will the associated UCR field in the carrier view hold multiple references?
Yes. So if you're viewing the indemnity transaction, then you'll be able to see multiple UCRs that are associated with it. So multiple associated fee UCRs. If you're viewing the fee UCRs, you'd only see your indemnity UCR in there, unless you have a requirement to see other fee UCRs associated with it. But I didn't think that was a requirement. Thanks. Thanks, Larry. Any other questions? Yes, we do have Steve.
Yeah, just one quick one, probably following up on what Tom was saying about the list of data fields. So it seems to me that that's probably going to be the most burning thing for most of the people on the call, to get that list of data fields and what's mandatory and what's optional, because I think that might lead to possible internal changes they need to make in processes. So that's probably the most important thing to get out as quick as you can.
Sure. Thank you. We'll do that. Adrienne?
Just very quickly, there's a few experts on the call that weren't aware of this this going on today, this presentation. We just found out about it and got forwarded the invite. But yeah, is there any way to be included on the next invite? So we're Senator, we collect fees and we weren't aware of it.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So I think Ali, you can take that on, for the future ones.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Tom, another question?
Yeah, hopefully my last, sorry. So I know it's previously been raised, but the ECF reports that are currently generated, like the 04 report, which goes through all of the outstanding items that haven't been completed, those will still be available to anyone processing on the parallel UCR.
That's the assumption. Yeah, all the reports that are with another work stream, by the assumption would be the report that you receive today, you should be able to receive them tomorrow as well.
Okay.
So Anthony Freeman?
Massimo, obviously based on what Tom and Steve are asking in terms of the definitions on the fields, is there going to be a specific specification document associated with this going to be released?
No, so there is no plan at the moment to release a specs, if you will, of ICOS in the fields. So we'll have to see how we can provide that information, I guess, to the community, so they can see what fields are required to be populated as part of the transaction creation.
I think it would make sense to create one to share with everyone, so everyone can align their systems.
Yeah, we can. I mean, it's possible to be done, but at the moment, it's not planning to release a formal specs for ICOS.
Yeah, I'd maybe take that away. That'd be good.
There's going to be a user guide though, right, Massimo?
Absolutely, it would be a user guide,
Yeah.
but it's different from a tech spec.
Yeah, you're right. But I think in terms of understanding what data fields are mandatory and what's not, then I'd hope the user guide is going to at least cover that.
Absolutely, yeah, it will have that. But I think the user guide is a bit different from a technical specification document. That would be a bit more in detail on all the details of the fields.
Anthony, were you hoping for field length detail too?
Absolutely, yeah.
So I kind of think it's good having a user guide, but actually for the vendors on this call, the idea of a spec with the detail of the field length is actually something we would need.
Yeah, understood. Yeah. So at the moment, as I said, there's no plan, but I understand the request.
Well, if its field lengths have changed, then the solution's not going to work for us, is it?
Or is the assumption that it is exactly the same as class currently?
I guess it depends what we're talking, which system we're talking about. So if it's on the right back side, we are mirroring the same specs as right back today. So the expectation there is no changes on that side.
But then if ICOS allows you to put longer data in a field, then what happens to it? So right back is currently built against the limitations in class. If the assumption is that the field lengths and the mandatory stuff and everything else is the same as class, then that's a working assumption, but it's not.
That would be part of validation.
True?
It is true. So it is part of our validation that we do with ICOS. The field on our tables could be a greater length than what Writeback can accept, but as part of crafting the message, we'll be issuing on the right format. So we can ensure that during the data capture is only limited to what Writeback can ingest.
Will that mean truncation? So if people were to fill in details in the portal in ICOS, then
what we're saying is if the field in ICOS, in our table, the field can have 100 characters, for instance, that would be in our table. We can limit what it can be entered on the front end to say 15 if that's the only thing that Writeback can consume. But if we issue the specs on ICOS independently, it might not always have relevance to the other systems because it's validation in between.
Can we just be careful? The limitation is not right back. Right back was built based on what class supported. So if we're now changing that, then we need to look at whether the right thing to do is change right back with the impact that will have, or limit what people can put in here to match right back until both things can be changed.
Absolutely, that's what we're doing. We're limiting what I guess the front end users in the portal can do to ensure that right back is able to ingest the same messages. Providing specs on ICOS might not be exactly like for like, because the way ICOS is built is so that it can be scaled up in the future.
So as an example, the broker comments, they're going to be 6 lines of, that's the maximum that you can put in at the moment, I believe.
And that's what we'll keep in the future. But it doesn't mean in our table, in our database, it is with the same restrictions, because we need to prepare for phase 2 and a code that might not have the same constraints.
We have a question from Scott.
Yeah. Is there any cost to us for training and testing?
Again, that one is a different, I guess, department for us. I think there might be some, I think there might be, but I don't know. So if you don't know who to engage, if you bring me your details, I can find out how to link you up to the adoption or the engagement team.
Actually, Massimo, it might be easier. I'm not sure who asked the question, but your Blueprint 2 champion within your firm will know around the testing and training requirements, because there's some things that are being provided free of charge, and there are some things that if you want extra, they are chargeable, but your Blueprint 2 champion will know. So if you just drop in the chat your name, I'll confirm.
I think that might be the point, Alan, though, is that Scott, he works for, is it McLaren's or
McLaren's,
I think,
yeah.
Sorry, Scott, I forgot for a moment there. But yeah, obviously he doesn't have a Blueprint 2 champion because he's one of the experts. So from the perspective of people who were entering stuff into this skinny version of ICOS, obviously they're doing us a service rather than the other way around.
Oh, that's right, because actually we've got a conversation coming up around third parties on that anyway. So again, if you can put your name and email address.
And again, why wouldn't we pick up with Nicole?
Yeah, no, we've got a meeting coming up. So if you can just drop your name and email address in the chat, that'd be great, because we can follow up after.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, and you got one more question from Barry.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes, we can.
Have you got any form of plan that goes against this? So we're talking about design. Have you got a design gate where this has to be closed and you need feedback so that all the stakeholders on this call know what they've got to review and come back to you on? And ditto, obviously, the build and then the test phases which have been raised. So is that going through or gone through any consideration?
It is going through those considerations. We've got a design office as well, where we review the requirements against the market requirements. And then from a build perspective, we have, I guess, the internal DXE and Velonetic review cycle, and then it goes through, I guess, Vanguard as well from a testing perspective with the early adopters.
Yeah, I guess it's a bit of a leading question because we're involved in some of the the DPS phases of delivery. So we kind of like to know where the stages are, and particularly the design, so that we can start thinking about the testing at the end. So is there a design gate that will be published and a date from this call?
From this call, no, because this call is about the requirements for this parallel UCR.
Yeah.
But we'll find out on the dates and for the testing from the testing team. Again, that will go through the Blueprint champions on this.
Yeah, if you can record on this call the design gate and acceptance of requirements and what that process is, the build is yours, the testing is the back end. So if you can record the design gate, I'd be quite interested to know when that is, please. Thank you.
A question from Matt Young. Matthew.
Yeah, hi, Massimo. I suppose really it's another one for Alan. Just going back to that conversation around costs, I think, do we also loop into that any commercial agreements that might need to be in place to allow access onto the portal?
Again, we're kind of just having a meeting about that this week, and we'll link in with Velenetic because there's obviously bigger ramifications on access, how that works, etc., etc. So we need to get a full answer before we can come back.
Thank you. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah, we've got 3 minutes left. Samantha.
Well, it's just going back to, I mean, I can't really say too much because it's just a vague presentation, but it would be down at the testing phase. If the experts on here could all be being able to test it, that we could then give more feedback on what works and what doesn't work. Because are you going to ask the loss adjusters and all that on here to test this system?
It will go through the testing phases like other products or the features that we've been testing. So through Vanguard as well, to provide early on feedback.
Right. Okay.
It's same phase essentially as we've done for brokers and carrier. The Vanguard team have been testing a lot of these features already for the last few months.
But
yes,
Massimo,
okay.
just based on Barry's question, but are you looking at this meeting as sign off of these requirements? Because Barry's point, you know, of creating a document, a design document for review, I suppose that's what we're kind of getting at. You know, that functionality is exactly what we're looking for. I'm just curious, are you looking at this meeting as a sign-off meeting of functionality?
Not necessarily, no, because the requirements are coming from, I guess, the blueprint to the different pods that were held in the past and that progress over time. The purpose of this call is really to give experts an early visibility of what fees UCR look like and to provide some feedback on the functionality so that we understand a bit better how the process need to be organized. So like comments like the OS&D validation, it's very useful for us, but it's not really to issue a formal sign-off from the stakeholders.
And what would the next phase for that be?
For this product?
For the sign-off of this functionality?
It's within, I guess, the market and Velonetic, so it doesn't go through a formal sign-off.
Okay.
Just following up on that with Anthony. So I suppose there's been 1,000,001 questions raised on this call. I mean, you've got the recording. Are you going to be noting down the questions because some of those are still unanswered? And then are you going to be responding back to us with, yes, this, I mean, take the OS&D, for example, that's a pretty key requirement from what's been raised today. Are you going to come back to the group to say, yes, this will be included, no, this won't on each individual question raised, or?
Yeah, the solution agreement is taking notes as well of what, solution alignment, what the questions were, and normally as part of the session, they will be issuing the minutes and we will go through the question to provide answers as well.
Okay, thank you. I suppose I don't know, it's on the spot question, but when will that be?
It will be in the next few weeks, I suppose. Yeah.
Next few weeks. Okay.
I know that we've now overrun by a minute. Do we have a question? No. We don't have any other questions. Massimo, are you happy to end the call?
Yeah. So thanks, Charles, for presenting. Thanks all for the feedback. So we definitely have a better understanding about these fees, UCRs.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks all.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right.